Hey, well, back tuning into today's video. We're doing JMA Friday today, having a look at the weather coming month. So we're going to get some thoughts together for December. This update will take us into December, actually to the end of December, with one of the models that we're going to look at in this update. So it'd be very interesting to see what the consensus is for the first month of the winter. Well, before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all the pages that goes over this. Have a browse with widgets and click through the links if there's any articles that you're interested in. And thanks very much for doing that. There's video ads on most of the pages, and they open up in the content when you watch them. They'll close back up again, so we'll help to pay the website. And of course, as you know by now, Gav Shop is open for business for Christmas. So if you've got any Christmas shopping to do at Amazon between now and Christmas, all you have to do is click through the Amazon banners in the shop, and to get to the shop, just click the button that says Christmas Shop, and you'll be able to go to Christmas Shop, and then from there, click through the Amazon banners. That's the key to it all. You can go off to Amazon and do your Christmas shopping, but because you've gone from Gas Service to Amazon, we get a revenue fee on things that you are purchasing. You don't need to do anything else differently other than making that connection from Gas Service to Amazon. So thanks so much for getting involved, and thanks for doing that. As I say, this update is going to focus on the coming month and into December, so not going to be looking at the cold snap. If you want to know more about the cold snap and the risk of snow over the next day or so, I'll be updating Snow Watch later on this afternoon and into this season, so come back for that to Snow Watch. Going to start off very quickly with centering temperature for November, though, because provisionally been a very warm month, and provisionally we stand at 11.3, which is an anomaly of 4.1 degrees above average, and that's provisional to the 18th of November. So it's been an exceptionally mild November so far. And suffice to say, this is well above the record-breaking warmest November on record from 1994, which came out with a centering temperature of 10.1, I think. So we're over a degree above the all-time record. Now, of course, it's going to take a bit of a kicking over the next few days, so be very interesting to come back and have a look at this on Monday and see how much we've lost off this temperature. But I think we're going to lose quite a bit over the weekend. We'll come back next week and have a look at that. Right, let's get on with the coming month. So we're going to start off with the Japanese model. It is JMA Friday, as I say. So we've got 500 millibar height anomalies broken down to weekly periods, starting with the coming week that we're in, the 20th through to the 27th of November. As you know, orange and yellow extrapolates to high pressure, blue extrapolates to low pressure. So for the coming week, we've got a trough of low pressure to the east, we've got a ridge out to the west, and what that does, it sends the flow rather like that. So that's the reason we're having this cold snap coming up, and this does encompass the cold weekend that got over this weekend. We're going to send winds into the north with a ridge to the west, low pressure to the east, and we're going to have our first little taste of winter, and it's going to stay pretty chilly into the start of next week, but then eventually milder winds from the west will begin to return. Now, as we go through to the next weekly period, this one going from the 27th of November through to the 4th of December, so into the start of the new month. Well, we've still got ridging to the east. It's more centred towards Scandinavia and western Russia. We've got this trough to the west and a ridge around the Azores. So the westerlies are coming back here, but coming up against this ridge, and this could keep the south and east with a lot of dry weather, I was thinking, to the end of November. If the wind goes into the east, this could bring some colder air actually into the east of the country, but I think overall it's a fairly mildish pattern, and most unsettled up in the north and west, driest down in the south and the east. And then this one looks a bit strange going into the final 2 weekly period. This is normally a very weak signal for this period, but these colours are quite vibrant and looking rather odd. So from the week from the 4th through to the 18th of December, we find lots of ridging to the south. We've actually got ridging coming out of America through the Atlantic, going into Spain, and then stretching up to Russia. And then we've got this trough of low pressure in the Atlantic. Basically, it means we're in a westerly flow anyway. It's going to be mild if that comes off. Could be very mild at times, actually. And again, I think the south and east probably gets a fair amount of dry weather with that. The north and west would see rain coming in at times. But I think the overall thing is once we get this cold snap out of the way over the next few days, there's no real sign here of anything particularly cold going through quite well into December. Actually, if we have a look at the CFS V2 next, these are the 500 millibar height anomalies from the CFS model. Again, same idea, green, blue extrapolates to low pressure, red, orange extrapolates to high pressure. So, excuse me, we've got this trough of low pressure over Scandinavia for the coming week. This is week 19th to 25th, going down to Eastern Europe, got this ridge through the Atlantic. So it's very similar to the JMA, actually. They're both in agreement that we should be turning the wind into the north, bringing this colder air down across the country. We get a cold snap, and then probably eventually the westerlies will start to push back in next week. We move through to the week going the 26th of November through to the 2nd of December. Westerlies are coming back. We've got the low pressure around Greenland, Iceland. We've got a ridge. I'm going to have to change the colour because the colour is so intense there. We've got a ridge out to the west of the country. So the westerlies are returning. And we probably get a fair amount of dryish weather down in the south. Most of them settled again. Excuse me, up to the north. As we move through into the third weekly period, it's going from the 3rd through to the 9th of December, we get the ridge setting up down to the south. Again, it's all very westerly, trough of low pressure up to the north around Greenland, Iceland. Again, the flow is coming off the Atlantic, and that could be mild once again going through that first week of December. So once more, as we get this cold snap out the way over the weekend, there's no real indication on either of these models of anything particularly cold coming up, and that takes us through into the middle part of December. Then the 10th through to the 16th shows low pressure around Greenland, Iceland, ridge through the Atlantic going into Spain and Portugal, and the westerly is coming more or less through the country. Now, of course, these are anomalies, so it doesn't rule out the chance of some short, sharp, cold snaps, such as the one we're going to get at the weekend. But there's no real suggestion on either the JMA or the CFS of anything all that cold coming up after this weekend is out of the way. The temperature anomalies from the CFS V2 look like this. The coming week is a bit colder than average. Not a dramatically cold week by any means, but it is a little bit colder than average in those green colours. But the next week, the 26th of November to the 2nd of December, goes a bit milder than average, so the temperature stage recovery as winds start to come back in off the Atlantic. The third weekly period, going from the 3rd to the 9th of December, looking very mild, with those westerlies, southwesterlies coming in. And that takes us up to the middle part of December as well, in those orange and red colours there. As is most of Europe, mild air penetrating well into Europe and even into western Russia. So a mild phase coming up to start the winter through the first couple of weeks of December. And then finally, the Beijing Climate Centre. These are the 500 millibar height anomalies broken down into 10-day periods from the BCC. The coming 10-day period takes us from the 21st of November through to the 30th, and we've got this trough to the east, and you can see it over here across Scandinavia, ridge out to west through the Atlantic. So again, same idea, bring down these northwesterly winds. This is transitional, remember, starting off with a cold snap, and then eventually we'll be sending the wind into the west, or the flow going into the west. The next weekly period, going from the 1st to the 10th of December, so first 10 days of next month, sees the westerlies coming back. We've got this ridge here through the central Atlantic, troughs a little bit to the northeast of us, but I think overall the flow is going back into the west, so fairly mildish start to December with that one. And we keep that going through the middle 10 days of December. This is the 11th through to the 20th. Again, low pressure all up to the north, ridge through the Atlantic. The westerlies are coming right through the country like that, so generally quite mild around the middle part of December. And then finally, this can take us to the end of December, and it also covers the Christmas period. And there is a little bit of a change here, actually, for the final 10 days of December. We start to pull that ridge back towards Newfoundland, and the trough of low pressure is digging down more to the northeast, so we could start to pull in some cold air, maybe a little bit of a trough in the 500 millibar flow getting going there for the final 10 days of December. It's not a signal for severe cold by any means, because there's no northern blocking. Notice all of this blue around Greenland and across the polar field, so there's no signal there at all for northern blocking, which is what you need for sustained and severe cold weather in the winter. But that is a little bit cooler, I think, for the final 10 days of December, covering the Christmas period. It might turn slightly colder and feel a little bit more seasonable. So what we've been doing the Christmas updates, and there has been a suggestion from the CFS V2 as well, that we might coincide Christmas with a bit of a colder snap on some of the updates that we've been doing. The Beige Climate Centre, not going as far as that, but a few hints there, but we might send the jet stream on a northwest-southeast trajectory anyway, which would be a bit cooler. But overall, once this weekend is out of the way, once the cold snap is gone, there's no real signal here on any of these models for anything cold up to the middle of December. It just looks generally quite westerly and quite mild, but that doesn't preclude some cold snaps, because these are all anomalies broken down into either weekly or 10-day periods, so it doesn't preclude a day or two of slightly colder conditions coming in on the backside of an area of low pressure, but certainly no sign of anything sustained. I think that's the message I want to try and get across. There's no sign of anything particularly sustained in terms of cold weather up to the middle part of December. It looks generally westerly and fairly mild as well. Okay, I'll have a look at Snowwatch this evening, and tomorrow it's a weekend forecast, so come back for that. All of these models are highly experimental. Weekend forecast will be with shorter range, tried and tested models. Okay, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.